Okay, so for my next learning the basic guide, we're going to talk about D.Va. D.Va is a tank. She fills the tank role. She is a 2-star difficulty tank, and my mastery rating for her is probably 3.5 stars. She does not fill a main tank role. She is an off tank or a flank tank, as I call them sometimes. She's got several different abilities to her. She's got 2 abilities for a Q, and I'll explain the reason for this in a moment. Now, her first ability is fusion cannons. It is a short range spread weapon in front of you that you can use to damage shields, damage enemies, and get your alt charge. This is the main way you're gonna get your alt charge. The only difference from a lot of the other left clicking characters, it is infinite ammo. There's no reason to reload with this. There's no need to reload with this. It's just infinite ammo. It's a short spread. The only downfall is it doesn't do as much damage as other characters might get from a shot. Now, the other ability she has is her left shift. It is her boosters. It's going, whatever you guys have it on, you guys have it on her, whatever, right? So I have it on left shift. It's her first ability. It flies people in a direction straight forward wherever they're facing. So no matter where you're facing, it will fly you in that direction as long as you're facing that direction. So you can use this to engage fights. You can use this to get away from fights. You can use this to fly in, melee, get out with it. One thing a lot of people don't realize is you can actually knock somebody back further if you fly into them, hit them with the booster, and then melee them. They'll go a little bit further than they normally would have if you just booped them. So you can use this to effectively engage in fights, to effectively retreat from a fight. I like to use it to engage, melee somebody and then quickly make a 180 and fly back slightly, just so I'm not in the backline of my enemy. This can also be used to get to the high ground, and that's one of D.Va's main jobs, is to contest the high ground. Her job is to contest any kind of widow, any kind of fire in the sky. That's part of her job. Her job is not to just sit with her main tank and, soak up a little bit of damage to the main tank. No, it's to contest as much of the ground as possible. So she wants to contest the high ground. She wants to contest the sky. That is her main role when coming to the tanking position. So the way I use this ability is, if I'm winning the team fight, I will use this to engage the high ground if I need to engage. If we're in a team fight already, I will use this to go in, get a quick melee off while I'm going in, use my left click, spray the bullets. As soon as I get in and hit the person, I will melee them. I might get the kill, I might not, and then I will 180 and pull myself out of the fight and then go back to spraying with my fusion cannons. That is the way you can use this ability with conjunction of the other abilities on top of it. You do not have to use all of them, but they all work really, really well together. Now, her next ability is Defense Matrix. The best thing about Defense Matrix is there's a cone in front of you, and it eats any projectiles, that being ults or, just shots. And the best thing about this is you do not have to be in front of the target. You can be at the side of them. As long as it crosses your Defense Matrix in front of you, you will eat that ultimate. So if you are coming back from a death, if it crosses in front of it, while you're coming back and you've right clicked and it crosses it, you're going to eat the grab bomb. You're going to eat the dragon arrow. You're going to eat the complete Macreol. It does not matter as long as you are within range of it. Now, that being said is, if the shot goes out of your range just by a slight, you're not going to eat it. So you might, not get the grab 8. You might not get the Macreol, the Deadeye 8. So it is finicky, but it is a great ability, and it can be used with boosters while boosting, and the next ability can be used with it as well. I personally don't use fusion cannons with it, but I believe you can use fusion cannons with Defense Matrix. I'm not 100% sure because I've never tried, but her next ability is Micro Missiles, which works really well with the other 2 abilities in conjunction with the other 2 abilities. When you're Defense Matrixing, you can Micro Missile still. Micro Missiles is much like the Pharah's ultimate. It sends out a volley of explosive rockets in front of you. I believe it's about 12, 6 each. Yeah, 6 on each side that do damage. This can be used to pump out an extra little bit of damage that your fusion cannons aren't doing. It can be used to engage when you're engaging a target. So when you're engaging a Widowmaker, you might want to use your boosters and, use your E, get the extra damage up, and as soon as you hit them, you want to melee them and get the kill on the Widowmaker, because it does do a lot of damage if allowed to hit all the shots. That being said, if you can combo all 3 of these abilities well together, you can become a complete force to reckon with on the battlefield. Now, that also said is, she is a very big bullet sponge, just much like the Hog. The only difference is she can't heal. And that's where her passive comes into play. Her passive is eject. It is when your mech reaches 0, you will eject and become the small D.Va that you see in all those videos and have a little pistol. Now, a lot of people, would laugh at me for saying this, but her pistol is a lot more powerful than her fusion cannons. Her pistol does 20 damage a shot, 40 damage on the headshot. I believe, if I recall correctly, that's exactly the damage. So, and it's got a 20 bullet clip. It's much like Mercy's pistol. If you can effectively 1v1 in your small form out of mech with a soldier or a McCree, and you're not being hit, you can actually kill the McCree before he kills you. The best way to do this is to, when you're fighting, strafe left and right while crouching back and forth, while keeping your cursor on the target. That once you are, you charge up your ult again, you'll get this ultimate ability called Call Mech. You will call a new mech and you will jump back into your mech suit from the previous mechs. Now, the thing is, that doesn't eat your mech ult. So your self-destructive, you've already farmed it, is still there. You can tell the difference between them due to the icons, and that's the way you're going to differentiate between the two. But the call mech is used to get back into your mech. Don't always get back into mech, because if you're being staggered, just let yourself die. Because if you're being staggered, getting back into mech just is going to give them more ult charge. Don't waste the time. But you can, at that time, kill somebody in the process. I have been staggered myself. I've also staggered D.Vas, and I've actually seen D.Vas kill one of my teammates, or I kill an enemy team because they've tried to stagger me, and then they have to kill me because I'm going to be taking them out because I'm doing a lot of damage. A lot of people don't realize how fearsome the little D.Va actually is if you allow her to be. Now, another thing, now we're going to talk about her other ultimate ability, which is her actual ult, which is her self-destruct. Basically what it does is the mech, you can use this in conjunction with boosters. So what you want to do is you want to fly up in the air, hit Q, you'll eject the mech forward, and after a short time it will explode. And it will do, I believe, 1200 damage if the target is red, it's 700 if it's yellow, and then if you're out of range it doesn't do much damage at all. And it knocks back targets. Now, the way I use this ult is either when we're engaging in a team fight and we need that extra push, or we have effectively removed the Ryan or their shield tank from the fight and there's no way they're going to get a shield back up in time, and you want to get a nice little bunch of kills. Now, this doesn't have to be used to get 5 kills. It does not have to be used to get 3 kills. It can be used to get a simple 1 or 2 kills. If you can land this on a support line and get one of the supports, you've done your job with your ultimate. So that being said, you do not need to get 5 kills with a bomb. Granted, it's great for play of the games or highlight plays, but you do not need to get a 5k with it. You can get 1 or 2 kills and just be even more effective than what would have happened if you got a 5k. Because, yeah, 5k might have pushed the point, but now your ultimate's out and they have ult. So even if you only get 1 or 2, it's fine. Don't be upset about getting the 1 or 2. Don't be upset about getting only 1. Make sure you're using it effectively to where you're going to actually kill the targets that you want to use it on. And it's also great for making people reposition themselves. So if you put it in a backline, you might force the Ana or the Baptiste or whoever to line of sight their tanks, and then you can destroy their tanks. The only thing I would say about this is make sure you're not using it on a lost fight like any other ult in this game, and make sure you're not using it over top of an enemy tank. Because if it's a Reinhardt, that enemy tank is going to swing on you twice before you can even get your mech back, and you're dead. So I'm going to tell you about a little bit of the combos that I like to do with D.Va and explain how they're done. So the booster melee combo that I like to do with D.Va is I will use my boosters fly up while using my fusion cannons, not my my fusion cannons. As soon as I hit that target, I will melee them, forcing them to get booped even further than just what my boosters would have done. So I could do it that way. The other combo is the booster's defense matrix. I will use this to fly in to a enemy line and eat whatever projectiles they're sending off. Now, the best way to know that there's a ultimate coming from Azaria is how aggressive she's playing. When I'm seeing Azaria play super aggressive, I keep that right click up, and as soon as I know she's coming in, I will fly in, and I will actually sometimes fly around her, boop her, but right click her as I'm behind her, not realizing that I'm going to eat that ult anyways. So she's effectively wasted her ult because she thought she was going to get a cheeky ult because I was behind her. That being said, I also like to do the boosters and micro missile combo. The boosters micro missile combo is you fly up, you use your micro missiles, and then you melee them just like you would do with the booster melee combo. Those are some of the combos that you can do with D.Va. And she's extremely powerful if you can master these combos or even use them effectively, because she can change the pace of a team fight simply by eating an ultimate. She can negate a Zarya. If you can eat her Zarya's ults every time, you will make that Zarya really, really angry. You will also make the Zarya basically become useless. That being said, you can also eat a McCree ult. You can also eat other people's ults. It's all so the defense matrix booster combo is used to. The reason why you're using boosters is to cover the ground that needs to be covered. So if there is a McCree ulting, or there's there might be a Hanzo ult coming out, and you know it's coming, you might want to use your boosters to get up in the face of that Hanzo and then right click as soon as that ult comes out. The only problem is with a Hanzo or a McCree, you have to be careful, especially with McCree. Just because you've right clicked on that McCree does not mean he's going to waste his ult. He might be charging that up to get the headshots on all those targets that's behind you. So you want to be very careful and make it feel like the Hanzo or the McCree or the Reaper. Now, I use it to block Reapers, McCrees, Zaryas, Fire Strikes. I use it to block all of those ults and all those abilities as best as I can. There's always the 1 or 2 times where they're going to get by. It happens. You cannot complain about that because you're not going to get them all. But if you can use these combos effectively, you can change the pace of a team fight simply by getting one of those ults off the battlefield of play. And it's great for when, just like with Sigma, it's great to eat a Reaper ult because the Reaper becomes useless. And 90% of teams, when you're playing against them, will try to de-mech you before using their ultimates. Because if you're up in mech, you are always making them afraid that you're going to eat an ult. And that's where the fear factor of D.Va comes into play. The fear factor of D.Va is, if you're in mech, you are effectively a wall to any of their ults. And another thing is, as long as another one that you can eat is Mei. As long as the Mei's little snowball is not on the ground or has not been activated, you can eat that as well. Again, it eats any projectile in an area cone in front of you. So be wary of that and make sure you're using this ability effectively to where you're stopping ults or making even the enemy Zaryas or the enemy Zarya, the enemy DPS fearful of using their ultimate while you're around. And you will change the pace of the team fight into your favor because, hey, can I ult? They'll ask. And they might not be able to because, no, we have a D.Va still up. There's been multiple times where I'm playing against D.Va and I tell a Reaper, no, hold your ult. Simply because there's a D.Va up and we need a D-mech her. Or I say, hey, let's D-mech the D.Va first and then we can ult combo. And that being said, that is the combo of her mechs. Now, the thing about her small form is, a lot of people will say, oh, just get back into mech right away. Be very wary about getting back into mech right away. Look at what's around you. If you've lost a team fight, there's no point to get back in mech. If you can get out, run away. Run away in small form, though. The reason being is if they're going to kill you, give them the least amount of ult charge off of you. Whereas if you're in mech, they're going to get that 600 damage ult charge, the 600 damage they're going to do for your mech, and then they're going to another 150 on top of it. So don't waste time getting back into the mech if it's already a lost team fight. Always make sure you're being careful and wary about what your surroundings are. And that, guys, is my basic guide to D.Va. If you guys have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section or message me on Discord, and I will be happy to answer them to the best of my abilities. Until next time, guys, have a great one.